Hi guys, I think I rave about my Alysm every year. Everything is dying back. It's getting to be quite barren around here. All the other annuals have gone by the wayside, but these Alysm are still looking gorgeous. I believe these reseeded themselves from the plants that I grew from seed in the spring. And this is why I love them so much. Let me show you how they look in the sun. These happen to be the purple variety, and I also have white. But what happens is they grow when the conditions are right, and then they put out some seed. Let me show you what seed looks like. It's right here. This is a whole bit of seed here. And it will drop its seed and grow the next time the conditions are right, which are in the fall as the weather cools. So this is an annual that kind of dies back in the heat of the summer, but it will reseed itself, so it will grow back when the temperature cools. So I just can't say enough about Alysm. I think I talk about it every year, guys, but obviously this is just along one edge, so I think it seeded itself from these plants over here. Isn't that gorgeous, guys? I have it all over the place. I have it out front as well in my containers, but it's also making a nice little bit of living mulch for my topiaries back here. Let me show you what I've done. I've kind of just wrapped it around in the bird's nest fashion, so it's not draping anymore, but it's wrapped around the base of the plant, and that way the seeds will drop back into the soil and hopefully sprout again in the spring. I may not have to do any planting of Alysm. Here's another batch over here. This is a white variety mixed with the purple. But as you can see, it normally drapes over, and I've just tucked it in. Look how pretty that looks. It really looks pretty this time of year when there aren't that many flowers. And I know that the pollinators really appreciate it. Here's a good view of these pots from another angle, so you can see how nice they look. And I have some over here as well. It just creates a nice little cover. You can see this is covered with seed. I'll try to go in closely. All that seed is going to drop back in and hopefully fill the pot for the spring with new seedlings that will come up. I think I'm being scolded because I'm here next to my walk bird bath. This is an old walk I'm using, and they love it. And it's winter-proof because it won't crack. But isn't that amazing, guys? And I have planted the bottom of some pak choi, and they're still doing well because we haven't had a hard freeze. But look, guys, I have Alysm growing everywhere. You can just see it seeded itself all over the place. As you can see, my do-it-yourself raised bed is all tucked in for the winter. I just kept throwing more and more stuff on there, garden debris, and then I topped it all off with leaves. And that is going to break down into a nice raised bed mix. I think that's going to be a very prolific bed next year. But I topped it off with leaves so that the soil underneath could break down and be protected from the extremes of winter. And guys, I haven't shown you how well my broccoli seedlings are doing there. They've actually turned into some nice sized plants, and they're growing up here in my new raised beds. I do have one cabbage plant that's doing okay, and my beets look like they took. So maybe next week I'll see if there's anything to dig up with those. But I really just wanted to show you my purple sprouting broccoli seedlings because they've turned into some nice sized plants, and I'm hoping by spring we'll get some of the sprouting broccoli. We'll see, but this bed has a lot of leaves on it, and I'm just going to let them stay. They can be a nice leaf layer which will break down, and next spring I'll come in here and put some more of my homemade compost on it. Maybe a little more soil, but I don't mind that the soil level is only about halfway up because that's going to give my cool weather plants some protection from cold winter winds. These kale plants are plagued a lot by white fly, and I don't do any spraying in my yard, but They actually, I add them a lot to the compost. I just throw them into my compost. Sometimes I'll just throw the leaves right back down into the soil. And this has kind of become a fertilizer row here. I'm growing things, a few spices, but I'm growing things that I think will be good to put in my either my weed brew or in my compost. So I think once the whitefly's gone, and there have been a couple of frosts though, this kale will taste good and I'll be able to use it for myself. But as you can see, there's a lot of damage on these leaves. And that's okay because they can still be composted down. And we'll see if they make it through this spring. We'll keep an eye on that. And then I have a little hydrangea in there that I'm rooting. And over here I do have some spices. I have a little rosemary cuttings that I put in there. And some type of seed has grown and I'm not sure what it is. It could be either black-eyed Susan or maybe coneflower. But I'm happy to see that my rosemary's doing well. So that'll be a tub of rosemary. And then next to it I have this huge plant. And this was horseradish. I had it growing in the ground and it did a whole bunch of nothing because it was in very heavy clay soil. And the frost has kind of taken it down a bit here. Looks a little bit droopy. Plus we haven't gotten much water. But this I planted not actually to use, although I could, but I planted it for these big leaves. It's supposed to be really good for composting. And I thought, well, you know, I can grow my own fertilizer. So I may dig that up and separate it and try to get a couple more bins of it going in the spring, but we'll see how it does. It's certainly easy enough to plant a horseradish root, and it gives you a lot of plant material to work with. And then down here, it looks like I have one small kale, probably one walking onion, and then I have some sage here, which I'm very excited about. So that's gonna come back up. That's a perennial, as are the rosemary plants over here. Those were just from cuttings from the grocery store, from the herb aisle. And actually I think these were also cuttings from the herb aisle, just the type that you use in your cooking. I think I just got these from the grocery store. So I have a little patch of sage and a little patch of rosemary. So this whole section here is herbs / fertilizer material. And again, I might try some of the kale in the winter. It tends to get sweeter once a couple frosts hit it. So we'll see how that goes. But I am very happy. This has become a more productive section of my garden ever since I redid it because of the tree roots growing in. Ever since I put weed fabric, which I'm not a big fan of, but I put it under these because all the tree roots were filling up these bins. So I'm very happy that this has become a more productive garden. And I had an annual in here. I think I had a tomato plant in here. But I will probably just spread out the things that can do better in the shade, because this is a partial shade location. But all of these other things have done pretty well here. This tree was here when I moved in 25 years ago, or it sprang up on its own, so I really don't know what it is, but there's more behind it. It's covered with red berries, and it is so beautiful and festive. Look how pretty this is, guys. Isn't that beautiful? Bright red berries. So I don't know if the birds eat those, but they certainly are beautiful this time of year. Always around Thanksgiving, they put out these beautiful red berries. Here are my collard greens, and I use them mostly for composting and fertilizer purposes, but they have looked horrible all summer, and now suddenly they're enjoying the cooler weather. And also, I think the pest pressure has sort of let up a bit. I do see white flies flying off it when I shake it, but you know, as it gets colder and colder, there is less pest pressure. But they're doing a lot better now that things have cooled off. Isn't that amazing, guys? And they've been growing since the spring. I think I grew those from seeds. This is the time of year when everything's dying back and all the leaves are falling that I realize evergreen structure is so important in a garden. So I had planted these. These were in pots, in containers on my patio. And I planted this one and one all the way back there near the fence. And I'm so glad I did. And I really like to do that. I like to grow evergreens in pots for a couple of years and then plant them out into the landscape. And they really add a lot of winter interest. And of course, fall is a great time to put together some big leaf piles so they can break down into leaf mold. Now I won't do much with this. I'll just leave it here for a couple of years and come back, and it's going to be a really nice soil additive, almost like peat moss. So I'm just letting it be, and as it breaks down and the level goes down, you know, I can even add to it. But I've set up a lot of these leaf piles, and hopefully it'll pay off in a couple of years. I'm trying every year to buy less and less container mix and potting soil. My pansies are still going strong. I had planted those last month, and they're looking beautiful. And I'll finish right here. I think my burning bush is almost finished burning. But look, guys, how pretty that is, that bright red bush that we planted so many years ago. When you do plant a burning bush, you want to make sure you're planting it somewhere where you don't mind it spreading. And I think it looks really great in this spot. We enjoy it every year, especially when it's showing its fall color. So guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're having fun in your fall gardens before it gets really cold. I'll see you next time.